Okay, hello. So, good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Um, the last couple of weeks, we've been having discussions about various things, little subtopics, if you will, areas in the workers' compensation world. Let me fix this microphone before it falls. There we go. Little areas of the workers' compensation world, which are very important, which are the source of a lot of important questions. But it all brings us full circle back to big question number one. And this is really the hottest topic of them all, the one thing that everyone always asks about. And today we're talking about settlements again. And why? Because that's what we're looking for. It's important that you get the medical treatment that you need and you get better and so on and so forth. But ultimately, we're looking to settle your case, get you as much money as we can get you, and let you move on with your life. So that's really what we're looking for here. And today we're going to talk about lowball settlements and how insurance companies sometimes play games with you and lowball you, shortchange you, try to get you to take less than your case is worth. Sorry, I'm moving you around Instagram. I'm trying to get you centered there. There we go. So that's what we're going to discuss today. Lowball settlements, how to avoid them, how to maximize your settlement dollar, how to get the most you can out of your case and put you in the best position to move forward. And today is going to sound a lot like we are having an ongoing advertising session for myself and for other attorneys. But ultimately, if you want to know the conclusion, the punchline, the final tip here, having a lawyer who knows what they're doing is the most important thing when it comes to settling your case at the right time for the right amount of money. And you also have to excuse me. I have a little bit of a cold today, so there it is. So I apologize if my voice sounds a little scratchy, but I'm going to do my best to power through. As always, folks, if you have any questions, please always feel free to post them on YouTube, post them on Instagram, and I will do everything I can to answer all of your fantastic questions. The questions have only been getting better and better and better. And if you're unable to post a question here, if you have any questions you want to call us with, 212-406-8989. We've been getting a lot of phone calls from various people. I try to get back to every phone call I can. It's very difficult. There's so many great calls that come in with questions, and we just try to help everybody out as much as possible. So again, 212-406-8989. We had a couple of new friends pop in today in the office here. As you can see, we're back. Like I said last week, we're back in our old office, which has been remodeled, and it's beautiful. The ducks are up on the credenza behind me. There they are, my friends. And you can't see them on YouTube. Sorry. But we're back, and we are ready to roll. Now I lost my mouse. So without further ado, let's jump into the first bunch of slides here and get a chat going. I see some questions already popping up. Adventures Often has posted some question, and my buddy Juice91. We are going to get to all those, but let's just talk about some settlement discussion here. How do I know if I'm getting a low ball settlement offer on my workers' compensation case, and how do I know what my case is actually worth? So it's a great question, and it really depends on what stage your case is at in order to really have the ability to evaluate the value of your case. Things like average weekly wage, level of disability, formal findings like that really help you have a framework or a foundation that you use to determine what your case value is worth. So once those decisions have been made and they're formalized, gives you a little more of a solid foundation to come up with what the value of the case is. But that being said, if you haven't reached that point yet and you are ready to settle, it's not to say that you can't use those as negotiating tools and bargaining chips. If you have proof that your average weekly wage is a very high number, and the insurance company might be trying to refute that and push it down and make it a lower number, that's a negotiation tool that you're going to use to get the value of your case up. How do you really know what your full case value is worth? I mean, one good place to look is if you're going to do it, to try to do it on your own, you go on the New York State Workers' Compensation Board website, and there are the medical treatment guidelines for determining permanent impairment, which you can use, and it walks you through the same way it would walk a doctor through a permanency evaluation, and you kind of would know what your limitations are, and you could use that to help form a framework of what your case value would be. But Like I said before, how do I know what my case is worth and what happens if I'm getting lowballed? My answer to all these slides and all these questions is going to be pretty uniform. Find a lawyer who knows what they're doing and knows the workers' compensation law here in New York State, because we know where the value lies and we know where the value doesn't lie. I mean, I had a conversation earlier today with a client, a long-term client, great guy, but he was asking questions, and great. That's what I like. I don't like when people assume that they know and they're wrong. I'd rather you ask me the questions and let's get it out there so we know what we're talking about. But he was saying, what about my lost time and my permanent disability? Well, it's a schedule case, so you don't really get both. You get paid for your lost time while you're out of work. You get paid for your permanent disability or your schedule loss of use at the end. But when you get that schedule payment, they take credit for your lost time payment, so you don't really get both. You know, these are important things that you need to discuss, and you might not know what the ins and the outs of the law are here, and your lawyer will. So find a New York workers' compensation attorney or an attorney in your area that really knows the law. Workers' comp law is quirky, it's weird, it's strange. I have a lot of lawyer friends, excuse me, who don't do workers' compensation, and when they're introduced to my world, and these are people all throughout the legal system, whether they're personal injury attorneys or corporate real estate attorneys, anybody out there, any lawyer out there that does not do workers' compensation, when they hear me discussing workers' comp and the technicalities of it, they think I'm speaking a different language. Get a lawyer who really knows what's up and knows what the law is, so that they can help you maximize case value. Okay. I see the questions are coming in already. I have blocked myself out with the slides. There it is. Next slide. Will the first offer I get to settle my case always be a low offer? And should I settle if it seems reasonable? Now, your gut, like anything else in life, is always, you have your gut and you have your instincts, and you should rely on them to some degree. If something seems reasonable, and listen, it happens a lot that an insurance company will throw out the first offer, throw out the first pitch, and give you a decent offer. Sometimes, especially if they know you have a legitimate, reliable attorney, maybe they're not going to try to lowball you because they know it's just going to be a waste of time and money. Sometimes you do get reasonable offers, and if you feel that your initial offer is reasonable, and that's what your gut is telling you, go speak to your lawyer. Say, look, this is how I feel. I think this might be decent. Tell me what you think, and have a dialogue with your lawyer. It's huge. You have a lawyer there. They're you hired them. Use them. Ask them the questions. No reason not to. If it's a lowball offer, let your lawyer tell you it's a lowball offer. Let him tell you why. Let him tell you where he sees value in your case, where he sees the potential to add on some dollar signs. So certainly, your first offer. Listen, the insurance company throws out that first offer always it's a baited hook. They want you to take the bait and be done with the case. And the quicker you settle, the quicker the more money they save over the long term, because litigation costs and payment for lost time and treatment and all those things disappear once the case gets settled, generally speaking. As we know, every settlement's a little bit different. So they want to try to entice you to settle the case quickly, and they want to try to save as much money as possible. So yes, sometimes that initial offer will be a little low, but it could be reasonable, because they do understand the quicker they settle, the more money they save. So if you have a gut instinct as to the value of a settlement and whether it's a good value, talk to your lawyer. Sorry, Instagram and TikTok, I'm moving you around. All right, we're good. I can see my screen now. Now, what happens if I reject a settlement offer on my comp case because it's too low? If you reject a settlement offer because it's too low, generally speaking, nothing happens. Generally speaking, your lawyer will continue to negotiate. So I've had clients say, look, I'm rejecting this settlement offer. I don't want to settle right now. I need to go get surgery. I need a couple more weeks of healing before I really start to consider what we're. Catherine's making funny faces, YouTube world. So some people say, I don't want to settle at all right now. Put it on the side burner. And I'll tell the insurance company that. And sometimes even that one response will get the insurance company to throw more money. But excuse me. We have some noise going on out there. I lost my train of thought. In our wonderful new office, folks, we have the pleasure of now having a new pet Roomba that's running around, and he's making some noise. So Sorry about that. But yeah, we've had clients say that they don't want to settle. They're not ready to settle. They want to get some more treatment. And that sometimes generates a little more dialogue and at least gets us prepared. It gets us on the on deck circle to settle that case for good value once you're ready. So, but again, those tactical timing techniques, that's alliteration at its finest right there. Tactical timing techniques are something that your lawyer is probably well versed in. And that's why you want to get a lawyer who really knows what they're doing. You want to strike when the iron's hot. I see some questions popping up here. You guys are awesome. Adventures often good afternoon, Rex. Unfortunately, shortly after I reached MMI, medical complications with my fusion, my surgeon has requested left below the knee. Oh, geez. Left below the knee amputation. Does this increase my potential settlement or lower it? I know surgery can hurt and benefit a work comp case. This will be my fourth and hopefully the last. So that's terrible. So you're looking at a below the knee amputation. In a case like that, I can only imagine that that's going to, I'm so sorry. Because this is where lawyers get a bad name because we're speaking backwards. It's going to help. It's a good thing. It should increase the value of your case in such a shitty way because no one would ever want to deal with an injury and a surgery like that. So I'm terribly sorry, but potentially that could increase the value of your case. I said in the past, surgeries are a funny thing, and people, the workers' compensation brain versus the personal injury brain sometimes are a little bit different. When you have an attorney surgery, they think dollar signs because a surgery is what's done when there's a bad injury. But you got to consider also that a surgery is there to make you better. And if your condition is so bad that you need surgery, presumably it's going to be much better once you have surgery. So if you're getting paid based upon the level of your overall permanent disability and that surgery has increased your functional capabilities, the surgery would hurt the value of your case. But in a circumstance like my buddy here adventures often, and he's a fisherman, and that's what I love. You're a freshwater guy. I'm an offshore saltwater guy, although I haven't been out in God knows how long. That being said, a surgery like that is completely different than a arthroscopic knee, arthroscopic shoulder, something like that. So I feel for you, my friend. I could throw you a cyber hug or something, but that's terrible. If there's anything I can do to help out, please let me know. Talk to your lawyer, get on the same page with your lawyer and your doctor, so at least you have a clear mind moving forward, and you can get through this bad time of your life and hopefully pop out the other side and be able to move on. Terrible injury. Feel better. Excuse me, I gotta. Juiced. Okay, so Juice 91 is talking about an injury. Come on. My news feed just popped up right in front of my screen. Get out of my face. Okay. Juice 91 is talking about a condition that we've discussed in the past multiple times. Okay. CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome, also known as RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. It's a neurological dysfunction, the cause of which they don't really know. Sometimes treatment helps, sometimes treatment makes it worse. It's really an absolutely fascinating. For people who don't have it, they will find it absolutely. If you do have it, it's fascinating. It's a terrible, terrible thing. If you're ever bored, Google it. It's just crazy to read about what this is. So my friend here, complex regional pain syndrome in the left leg in Maryland. So just my disclaimer, I'm a workers' comp attorney here in New York. I do not know Maryland law. But if you do need help, hopefully we can find somebody who can help you out. Maryland workers' compensation case, also a CBT in the left wrist. I'm going to have to look that one up. I don't know what CBT in the left wrist could be or what it is. CBT wrist. Core body temperature? No. Cognitive behavioral therapy? No. I need a little insight from you, Juice, as to what CBT is in the left wrist. Waiting on another surgery for the left wrist. What does my case sound like to you? I'm still having a lot of pain in both areas. Sounds like you haven't reached maximum medical improvement yet, is what it sounds like. If you're still having a lot of pain, that could be treated with physical therapy, occupational therapy, surgery. any type of pain management, injections, whatever the case may be, you're not in that MMI territory yet. It sounds like your doctor wants to do some more work on you, especially surgery. Be careful with that complex regional pain syndrome. It's an MFR, if you know what I mean. Have I seen good outcomes in situations like yours here in New York? I certainly have. I've seen those cases result in, and again, your definition of good outcome, it varies from person to person. I've seen people recover relatively well and have really little leftover residual damage here, thus resulting in not a lot of money, but you're mostly better. I've had people with really bad residual permanent deficits that result in a lot of money. It's a funny thing. And there's a story that I always tell people here in New York, way back in the day, before I even started practicing. There used to be state doctors. So before that, you had your doctor and the insurance company sent you to see an IME doctor, and there were two separate doctors on either side. We had state doctors. And when the Workers' Compensation Board was live and we had one centralized board, it was located in Brooklyn and it was for the 5 boroughs. There were state doctors, and the state doctors were essentially IME doctors that worked for the state, and they were upstairs. And you would be doing a hearing, and we'd go in and we'd say, Judge, look, we got a permanency report. My client has a 50% loss of use of his knee. And the judge would look at the report and say, insurance company, do you accept that? Do you agree? And the insurance company would say, heck no, we don't agree with that. That's high. And the judge would sometimes say, you know what, sir? You take a referral pad and say, here you go. Here's a piece of paper. Go up to the 3rd floor, go see the state doctor, and let's see what he has to say. And one attorney that we work very closely with, she's a fantastic attorney, tells the story, and I always relay it because it makes me laugh. The client had a pretty significant scheduled loss of use finding. I don't know if it was a knee or a shoulder or what. They sent him upstairs to the state doctor, and the state doctor examined him and came back with, like a 2.5% scheduled loss of use versus like a 40% that his doctor gave. And the lawyer says, the client handed me the report, and I opened the report, and the client read it, but he didn't really know what he was looking at. And, this goes to what we were talking about before. What's a good result? She looked at the report, and she really didn't know how to break it to the client that the doctor found a very low number as compared to his doctor. And she said, great news. You're okay. You're way better off than you and your doctor thought you were. Your condition's improved. You should be so happy. And she sold it to him that way. And look, that's a good result. If in fact your condition heals and you recover to the point that you're mostly better, if not completely 100% recovered, that's a great outcome as well. It's those circumstances where you do have residual permanent damage that we really, as an attorney, pick up the slack. Your doctor's there to make you as good as he can get you, and it's our job to pick up the slack and fill in that gap and try to get you as much money as we can for any permanent residual damage. So great question, Juiced. You allowed me to story tell, and I love telling stories about my life in this topsy-turvy workers' compensation world. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for a great question. Where'd you go? I gotta click off there. Ooh. This is my friend. Ooh, 10 years on workers. Jesus, 10 years on workers' comp. And you need surgery again on the same problem, but they want you to do vocational school. Never wanted me to go back to my old job. Project 2025 is real. We are not getting political. Vocational rehab is not a bad thing, and it shows a judge and an insurance company that you're acting in good faith. So I would certainly give it a whirl. 10 years is a long time to be out on comp, but if they're recommending voc rehab, it's certainly a good idea. It can't hurt, and even if they're going to teach you something new, put yourself in a position that you can excel and move forward. So I would certainly give that a whirl. A couple more questions here. Insurance denied. This is from Mike, folks. Insurance denied my x-rays and other treatment related to my workers' compensation case. If I use my own insurance, could that impact my settlement? And is it admissible in my claim? So here we're talking, this is where the waters get very muddied here. If the workers' comp insurance carrier is denying authorization for treatment and testing and all those sorts of things, you really want to see that to the end. You want to appeal those denials, and you want to see it through to the end. before you really go and have your private health insurance take it over. I mean, every situation is different, and we've seen it go every which way, and it's this is where it gets confusing. Um, is it admissible in New York State? You know, if the doctor's willing to submit those reports, and he's willing to attest that they are related, you know, it never hurts to give it a shot. So, yeah, we hate when things fall into this territory here because you know we're trying to allege that things are related when your doctor telling us they are, and the insurance company's trying to save their money and not pay for treatment and not pay for x-rays and surgeries and things like that. But you do want to try to see it to the end. Let it run that full appeals process. Every state has its own way of getting treatment requested and authorized, and you want to follow through to the end. All right. A lot of great questions here. If you see I'm fidgeting, it's baseball. It's playoff time, folks. And my Mets are doing well, so I'm happy. Adventures often. So he had asked a question before. Do you think workers' comp may try to settle with me prior to the surgery? And if so, how often is the offer worth settling prior to surgery, or is it best to wait? So that's a great question, actually. Sometimes if you are contemplating not having a surgery, settling before you make a final decision or settling before the surgery that you're not going to have anyway, you know, you want to kind of strike at the right time and tell them, look, maybe I'll consider not having the surgery if the money's right. So, I mean, if you're looking at a leg amputation, that's again, you're in a whole different field here. You want to make sure that you're on the same page with your doctor and your lawyer. That's a massive undertaking, and I can't imagine any doctor would recommend and perform a surgery like that without it being the last final possible treatment for you. So it's scary. Make sure you're on the same page with your doctor and your lawyer. But we see a lot of times that people will be recommended for surgery and they say, look, I'd rather not have the surgery. I'd rather just settle my case. And that's a good time to try to work on a settlement. So great question. You're on point today, my friend. And here's another old friend of the show. By the way, I see some people popping in on Instagram. Savant Paris 32, who had a whole bunch of good questions last week or 2 weeks ago. I have established low back and neck pain and shoulder. How long should it take before I settle? You know, you want to settle when you're approaching the end of your treatment. You want to settle when you're getting to the point of max medical improvement, and sometimes you want to try to get your settlement negotiated before there's a finding of permanent disability. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes you want to wait for that finding. Sometimes the insurance company just underevaluates what a case is worth. But before a judge makes a decision as to what your permanent partial disability might be or your schedule loss, man, they're doing construction across the street and they're literally hoisting a crane section up like right over my window. And it's really freaky. I don't know if you can see out there, Instagram folks. Man, working in Manhattan. But what was I saying? I do. Yes, sometimes you want to try to, like I say, strike while the iron's hot. Before a judge makes a decision as to your level of permanent partial disability, it's in a state of flux. It could be high, it could be low. You could, you know, and you want to use that against the insurance company that they don't know what you're going to get here, and they're going to try to do the same thing and minimize your value. But it's always a good time to settle. But it doesn't always happen. Sometimes you have to wait for that judge to make a decision and use that against them. You know, we had a case yesterday. I had a case where I was valuing the case using a super high permanent partial disability rating, like in the 90s, 95. I was assuming that this case would we'd get a decision somewhere around there, and I was pushing with two guns blazing for a permanent total disability, 100% disability, and the insurance company was saying, "Nah, we're thinking this case is worth 65 or 75%." And I said, "Look, you know, this is my client's bottom line. This is what I evaluate the case at." I gave them a dollar value, and they didn't want to go for it. I said, "If you don't want to settle right now, we'll let the judge make a decision. You've read the transcripts. You know what my pitch is going to be. You know that I'm going to pitch it well." And we went in there and we gave summations, and the judge didn't even have to take vocational testimony from my client because he said that he agreed with me, and my client had a permanent total disability. And there you go. So the value of that case just went from here to right through the roof because the insurance company didn't want to play ball because they undervalued this particular case, and I got my client a permanent total. It's rare. I don't need. Please don't call me and saying that you got this guy a permanent total and I want a permanent total myself. They are rare. They are difficult, but we are successful in getting them every now and again. And my good friend Mike out there, I got him. I got him one. Truth Seeker. Truth Seeker is. I can't think of a week that you haven't been on, and I love it. And thank you. You're in the President's Club. You get a seat at the big table. Hope your eye is healing well. Yes, my eye is healing well, hence the glasses today. Thank you. I just got a letter from the insurance company accepting 11 body parts. I think we talked about this last week that I can't think of 11 body parts that are being accepted. Have you ever had a case that involved bradycardia before? I know I have. Bradycardia. Let me just refresh my own memory here. Bradycardia. That's why I didn't go to med school. So, bradyarrhythmia, it's a condition where the heart rate is abnormally slow, beating less than 60 times per minute. So it's slow heart rate. If there's a medical explanation as to the causal relationship or the consequential relationship to your work or to a work accident, absolutely. We've had all sorts of underlying conditions or consequential conditions. Psychological disability is one of them, but we've had clients who've had bed sores from being in bed for so long. We've had clients with all sorts of consequential injuries. We've had clients who've had gastrointestinal problems due to medications that they were taking. So, So I see your question that you're asking is what's the value? The value there, so that a heart condition is treated like any other core systemic injury, any non-scheduled injury, like a head, neck, or back injury. So that's generally how that's handled. So when you reach the point of maximum medical improvement, they're going to assess that as well. And if the condition, and let's hope it's not something that requires lifelong medical care and it stabilizes and you can live a full and healthy and happy life. But in any way that it does impact your ability to live your life, it would be assessed as part of your permanent partial disability. Horrible to hear. I'm sorry. Feel better. I hope it all gets better. Conditions like that, from what I understand, can resolve. So, is saying no settlement after surgery always. I don't know what you mean by that. Give me a little. Always ask, is them the offer 3 times better than the first? I don't. You got to help me out with that. Stendhal Sorrell, another contributor from last week. Thank you. Good afternoon, Rex. I find a light duty job as a security guard. Good, because I cannot go back to my previous job. Can I still get my lump sum after deposition? I don't know what state you're in, and I don't know what the specific rules are in your jurisdiction, but potentially in New York State, if you're back at light duty, and as we've talked about in the past, light duty doesn't mean that you're doing less physical work. The only thing light duty means in New York State workers' compensation world is you're earning less money because you can't work full capacity because of your injuries. Your wage earning capacity has been diminished due to your injury. Can you still get a lump sum? Yes. Can you get a settlement? Yes. You could do a lot of things. And I always recommend going back to work is the best thing you can do. It gets you out of this dump of a system that's just here to sustain you while you get better. You want to go back. You need to go back. Go back to work. Get yourself back into the workforce, and whatever we can make of the remainder of your case, we're going to get you as much as we can. And if you're working at light duty and you're not earning your full salary because of your injury, then yeah, there's a lump sum possibility right there. So I would certainly give that a shot. Lorenzo, I broke my leg in 2 places back in May and had surgery on May 20th. And then on August 15th, had a second surgery because it wasn't healing correctly. Does that raise the value of my workers' compensation case? So it's the answer, and I don't know if you heard before what I was talking about. Potentially, yes, potentially no. But I mean, clearly you had a pretty significant injury. First of all, just to break your leg in 2 places is indicative of a pretty significant trauma. But when it doesn't heal, a malunion perhaps, I don't know if you had a malunion, that's when the bone doesn't heal the way it should. It's a little crooked, it's a little off. Sometimes they got to go in and break the leg again in that spot. It's horrible. But if that second surgery or that non-union malunion leads to additional dysfunction, permanent dysfunction in the leg, then it absolutely could raise the value of your case. You know, having a surgery is indicative of a bad injury. Having 2 surgeries is indicative of a really bad injury. So I would say yes, but there's no hard and fast rule. Sorry to hear about that. If you have any questions, Lorenzo, Odin, or anybody has any questions, always feel free to give me a call. 212-406-8989. As you know, I am Rex Sikowski, and I am here to help. And I'm here to root for the Mets today. So let's go, Mets. A couple more questions. Rakeen, I have 30% impairment for PTSD and anxiety and 10% for back and arm injuries. I was in the work injury as a passenger of a semi. What kind of outcome should I expect? So this is a great question. And this was the almost very close to the example I used for our discussion regarding schedule and non-schedule and how those cases finalize. It comes down to which of your set of injuries is more severe, the schedule injuries or the non-schedulable injuries, and your work status. Are you back at work at full duty? Are you back at work at light duty, like we just discussed, or are you not back at work? If you're back at work at full duty following this accident with a relatively minimal lost time, then you might want to look at scheduling your arm injuries and seeing what the schedule value is there. Because when you're back at work at full duty, the only place where you can really get a permanent injury award is from a schedulable injury like an arm injury. If you're back at work at light duty, if you can't earn your full amount, your full salary because of the injuries, or you're not back to work, then you might want to look to classify with a permanent partial disability. But again, there's a lot of other factors that we need to consider here. Either way, even if you're back at work at full duty and you had very little lost time, you can still look to the insurance company and say, look, we have a lot of disabilities and injuries here. Let's work something out and get this case settled if you're willing to forego and close out the medical side of it so you can get money for that as well. I hope you're feeling better. I hope you're on the upswing and you're doing better, Rakeen. And thanks for a great question. Standal Sorrell has another great question for me. You're on it, my friend. You're getting a hat trick. How can I deal with surveillance who try to intimidate me indirectly? I need a little more information than that, but my blanket answer, if you feel intimidated, call the police. If you think something's up and something's wrong and you're worried and you fear for your safety, call the police. I don't know. They don't tell us who the surveillance is and when they're doing it. I can't call you and say, hey, the carrier told me every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 3, you're going to have surveillance on you. I don't know who it is. I don't know who's there. And if you feel intimidated, if you feel that there's a security issue, you can call the police. Don't just call. Part of me wants to take that back because you don't use it as a tool. Don't use it as a threat. But if you feel afraid, if you feel like something bad could happen and you're not sure, listen, if you know it's surveillance, if you know it's the investigator surveilling you, if you know for a fact, I would say that there's no risk of harm there. But if you're really unsure, you got to make a judgment call here. But I'm sorry that that's happening. And surveillance is a real thing. And we've discussed that in the past. We're working on another video coming up in the near future where we're going to go over surveillance again because it is an ongoing problem. And we get a lot of questions on that. Okay, moving along here. Let me see what my next slide was. What number are we on? I can't see. What if every settlement offer I get from the insurance company is low, and can I take them to court for a better outcome? So this is exactly the scenario I was talking about just a few moments ago, our case that we had yesterday. We were trying to work out a settlement. They put a lot of caveats and conditions on their settlement offer that they made. They wanted the medical side of the settlement, the MSA, to be professionally administered, which means that money goes to an outside company that administers your Medicare. With a reversionary clause. Reversionary clauses are big things that we don't like. Once that money's sent, that annuity is purchased, and that money is sent to this outside company to help administer your future medical. If God forbid you pass away and there's still money in that account or money payable, it reverts back to the insurance company. So they wanted a reversionary clause, which we didn't want. Whatever it was, the terms of that settlement offer and the back and forth negotiations were not something that we felt was acceptable. It was too low. So what did we do? We took them to court for a better outcome, and we got the better outcome. So that's exactly what you do. You want to play it, and I was just having this discussion earlier today with somebody else. You want to drive that car forward. You want to proceed as required by law. You want to follow the book. You want to do things the way they're supposed to be done, while also maintaining that opportunity to negotiate a settlement, so that as you push your case forward and you drive it forward and you do the things that the judge and the law wants you to do, work search, producing medical, deposing doctors, you want to drive that case forward with full force, while also kind of keeping an ear open to have your negotiations to try to resolve the case. And if you do get something worked out as you're pushing your case down the road, you take that exit and you close the case. So that's how you should always proceed with your case to get the best possible outcome. Okay. Couple more slides here. When is the best time to settle my workers' compensation case for a fair amount? And I know I'm getting repetitive. I did discuss this earlier. Aside from timing, do I have any other leverage when negotiating? So, like I said before, you want to try to negotiate. You want to time it so that there's still meat on the bone, but it's meat that you might not be interested in. So whether it's, you don't want to wait till all of your treatment's exhausted, and everything's done and everything's been paid out, and you've gotten your permanent partial disability. You were found to have a 50% permanent partial disability, and you got paid for 300 weeks. And at the 295th week, you decide you want to settle. There's no meat left on the bone. You want to settle when the time is right and there's enough there to give your case some good value, and get your case settled. And that's why it's important to have a lawyer who really knows what they're doing. You really want to make sure your lawyer understands how permanency works, schedule loss works, how the medical authorization process works, what medical is left, to try to, just like I say, strike while the iron's hot. And you want to get a lawyer who really knows what they're doing. Here's a good question from Child of God. Does declining surgery negatively affect the settlement process? Not really. Surgeries for the most part are expensive. And if an insurance company can avoid the expense of a surgery, that makes them happy, and that might make them more inclined to settle, and might make them more inclined to settle for value. You could say, look, my client doesn't want to have this $20,000 or $30,000 or $10,000 surgery, or he's willing to consider not having the surgery if we could settle for a good amount. So instead of paying 20 grand to the doctors and the hospitals and everything for the surgery, plus the post-operative care, plus the cost of litigation, add another 10 or 12,000 to the value of the settlement, and we'll get this thing closed. And sometimes you could do very well under that set of circumstances. So declining surgery, if you're choosing not to have surgery, certainly something you want to speak with your lawyer about, and your doctor. Make sure you're not risking your life here. But it's a very good time to try to negotiate a settlement, and it should not adversely, negatively affect the settlement process. Couple more questions here. Lucky Angel, my lawyer told me I can't get a global settlement yet. Why is that? Global settlements mean one of two things. If we're talking about just a workers' compensation case, a global settlement is a full and final settlement. If you don't have a third party, if you don't have a negligence liability third party action, whatever you want to call it, and you're doing a full and final global workers' comp, that's closing your whole settlement. What a global means in the bigger sense, when you do have a third-party lawsuit, you're suing the driver who hit you, you have a labor law case, that's when you settle the comp and the third party simultaneously, in a way that you get the lien repayment involved. This is very technical, crazy stuff, but your workers' comp carrier is entitled to get some of their money back when you settle your third-party case, if you have one. And sometimes, if both cases are ripe to be settled right around the same time, you can work out some sort of a settlement with the comp and the third-party case, and you involve that lien repayment that workers' comp gets back, and you try to reduce it or eliminate it, and enter into a global settlement, which gives the insurance carrier a Section 32 closure. Your case is closed forever, and you're never going to come back again and hit them up for money or treatment. So, why is that? So when Lucky Angel here is asking me, why are you not ripe for global? You'd have to talk to your lawyer a little bit more and ask him why, but it could be for a lot of different reasons. Maybe one of the two cases is not ripe for settlement yet. Pardon me, I have to cough. And I'm going to drink a little water. I'm going to take a few more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up because I am a little under the weather. And Gilbert Benavides always hits it on the head. If everyone likes what they have to hear, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. I'm here to help. And telling me that you like me makes me feel good. So hit the like button and please subscribe. So, hi, Rex. Monday's my pre-trial hearing with my lawyer and the adjuster. What should I expect? My case is 5.5 years already, fighting a big case, workers' comp, third party combined. So you're talking about your pre-trial conference for your third party. I don't know what to expect. I've never been involved in one, to be completely honest. Talk to your lawyer. If Monday is your pre-trial conference and today is Wednesday, get on the phone with your lawyer now. You have 17 more minutes before their office probably closes. Schedule a phone chat with him, or try to see if he could get you in a little early before your pre-trial conference, just so you know what to expect, and you might have to answer questions and things like that. But I wish I could give you a better answer. I don't know. John Kalamas, do you have much success with occupational injuries? I have carpal and cubital tunnel. Carpal tunnel is the wrist, cubital tunnel is the elbow. And I need surgery on both arms. I am retired, but the date listed on my claim is 6 weeks prior to my retirement. Thank you. So in New York State, you're talking about an OD, repetitive stress, occupational type of injury. You didn't have an accident. A bookshelf didn't fall on your wrists and elbows. You didn't have a car accident. You didn't fall down a flight of stairs. You're experiencing occupational repetitive trauma, which resulted in wrist and elbow injuries. You have the statute of limitations is 2 years, the same as an accident case here in New York State. You have 2 years. If you have an accident, you have 2 years from the date of accident to file a claim. When you have your type of case, you have 2 years from the date that you first knew or should have known that your injuries are work-related. So the retirement date and the 6 weeks are all very important dates because you still have time limitations on when you need to file the case. First things first, file your case. Get it filed. This way they can't time bar you and just kick you out on a technicality. Get that case filed. Get it filed as soon as possible. Get it in under that 2 years. That's very important. And then you want to talk to your doctor. Hey, doc, my wrists have been killing me for the last 6 months. My elbows have been killing me for the last 6 months. My job is as a blah, blah, blah. I do typing and filing all day. And what could it be? How could I have hurt my wrists and my elbows? Well, sir, if you type all day for 9 hours a day, you probably have carpal tunnel due to typing. And you probably have cubital tunnel from your elbows resting on the same spot in the desk for multiple hours a day. And let me do an exam and figure out what's wrong with you. Great. And now you're reaching a point where you first knew or should have known your injuries are work related. Now, I don't know, John, the specifics of your case, and I could be completely my chat could be different from your history and your circumstances, but I'm just trying to give you a picture of what to look at here. 2 years from the date you first knew or should have known your injuries are work related is when that needs to be filed. We see it with carpal tunnel is probably the biggest one, but it happens with all sorts of injuries. We've had repetitive stress knee injuries, back injuries, shoulder injuries, you name it. 2 years from the date you first knew or should have known. Catherine's getting angry out there. Man, Gilbert said it best before. Hit that like button. Krista McCleary. I had 4 surgeries and I just went for my scheduled loss of use, and the insurance company has not reached out for an offer. Will I get a lump sum? Here in New York State, you should probably. If the scheduled loss of use does not exceed your prior payments, then you should get a lump sum. If you've been paid for your lost time more than the scheduled loss, then you might not get a lump sum. There's a lot of factors there. If you have any questions and you want to go over it, you or anybody, Standell Sorrell, JA, any of the wonderful people on this list here, can always give me a call, 212-406-8989. All right, we're going to take a couple more here. I want to go have a cup of tea. Amy Ziegler. She's stoking the fire here. She's telling Mr. Stendhal, who was asking about the surveillance, the intimidating surveillance, that her favorite term is suspicious vehicle if she contacts police because surveillance is awful. I don't listen. That's very funny. Smitty. I've been under workers' comp since January, and from watching my videos, I found out what TPD is. I asked the adjuster about it, and I haven't heard back yet. Is there a time limit before they give me answers since they took my overtime and call pay away? TPD, temporary partial disability. Is that what you're talking about, Smitty? If you're out of work, yeah, you should be getting that by now. Gilbert, I cannot help you in Texas, but I know a great attorney who probably could help you in Texas. Call me, 212-406-8989. I'll give you his information. Smitty, you should be getting, if you're not working, you should be getting your workers' comp benefits if you're in New York. And again, if you have any questions, you can give me a call, 212-406-8989. The law is a scary subject sometimes. It's like you can see torts. I hate my computer. Come on, get out of my face. Sorry, give me 1 second. My news feed, if I drop my cursor to the bottom of the screen, my news feed pops up and drowns everybody out. It's like you could see torts right before your very eyes. This is a strange place. You know something? If Jason, I went to law school with a guy named Jason, and Jason and I would run around, and all of our friends, and whenever we would see something, I don't know if for those of you in the city, you know what the sidewalk, the metal gates that they open to go down to the basements. You know what I'm talking about. You see them all over Brooklyn and Queens. We were walking around in some neighborhood once, going out for dinner or something, and one of those was open. Usually they put a cone in front of it, or they put a bar in front of it, but this one had no barrier, and we both looked at it and said, that's a tort. And that was our running joke all through law school. Whenever we'd see something that was a tort, we would call it out as being a tort. A tort is a civil wrong. You punch somebody in the face, you've committed a tort. You get into it, you rear end somebody, you committed a tort. You're negligent and somebody falls down a flight of stairs, you've committed a tort. So that was our running joke. Whenever we'd see something that was blatant negligence, you would say that's a tort. So, Kevin, my friend, you're correct. That is a tort. Gilbert, if you can't rep me in Texas, who of your friends can? I need a pit bull. I got a pit bull, dude. Call me. I'll get you the meanest Texas pit bull of all. Call me, 212-406-8989. Kevin, what happened? I was at Walmart going to work, and I slipped on black ice, and my body got slammed. I smacked my whole back backwards, needles and pins, and my chest. That sucks. Black ice is it'll get you. I hate, you get that one time a year. It's not even like December, January. At least around here, it's like February. It's like the pit of winter when you get all those black ice injuries, and it's always like confined to like a 2-week span where you get that one super cold snap, and people get hurt with black ice. It's terrible. Greg Hacker, if I want to switch workers' comp attorneys because he doesn't want to present a stipulated agreement or final settlement to receive a larger settlement, I don't see if you had a follow-up to that. But you can always switch attorneys. Just because you want to switch attorneys doesn't mean every attorney that you go to is going to take your case. You know, lawyers, and this is a public service announcement on behalf of all workers' comp attorneys, especially here in New York State. We get it. People don't always have compatible personalities, and sometimes you just don't get along with your lawyer. It happens to me. A great guy like me, it happens to. I can't believe it myself. But you know, being an attorney, being a workers' comp attorney, we're running a business like anything else, and sometimes it's just not a good business move to take on certain cases. And it's not because you have a bad case. It's not because we don't like it. It's not because you don't have any, you know, a valid claim or anything. Sometimes it's just not worth it. We have to split a fee with your old lawyer, and it's not always worth it. So don't take it personally if a lawyer doesn't take your case. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or your case. It could just be a business decision. We could just some lawyers, don't take a certain number of cases, and when you get close to that limit, you want to cap it. It could be a money thing. It could be there's a lot of different reasons. So don't take it personally. But legally, if you want to switch your lawyer, you're free to switch your lawyer. You're always free to consult with somebody, get an opinion. And if you don't like your lawyer and you like somebody else better, you could certainly switch. With that, folks, I am about to wrap this up. Mechanic Marte. If your case goes on trial, you should ask for more money than the policy. So you're talking about personal injury case. This damn news feed. We're going to have to disable this thing. Mechanic Marte is talking about policy limits. Policy limits don't apply in a workers' compensation case. That's more of a personal injury type of thing where you're asking for the policy limit. But a good point. And if you do have a question, if you have a personal injury case, you want to talk to your lawyer about that and what you're looking for. World Savior, I didn't know I skipped you. I didn't see your question. Do me a favor, my friend, world. If you're going to save the world, save me first. But call me 212-406-8989. Ask me your question, or if you want to save it for next week, I'm certainly happy to. I'll get to you first. You get there first. I'll answer your question first. But if you liked what I'm talking about today, settlements, money, workers' comp, hit the like button. Where is it? It's right over in there. Push the like button. If you want to subscribe. I like bragging to my mom down in Florida about how many subscribers I have. She can't believe it. Oh my God, you have so many subscribers. Hit the like button, subscribe. And if you guys have any questions and I can't answer them here, I'm sorry. I can't answer every single one. Call me 212-406-8989. If I'm not here to answer, my well-trained staff headed by Catherine. Say hello, Catherine. She waved. They're all here to help. And we're happy to help. That's what we do. We take pride in our work. We love what we do. We love helping people. And with that, folks, I want to thank you. She's telling me I'm the best boss ever. You're the greatest boss ever. She's giving me a finger. Oh, it's a thumb. Thumbs up. I thought, okay. Whew. That was a close one. Folks, have a wonderful rest of your week. Let's go Mets. Let's get serious tonight. If you're from Milwaukee, I'm sorry, but let's kick Milwaukee's butt tonight. Let's close it out. And have a wonderful rest of your week, folks. Be safe and have a wonderful day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye-bye.